Hi everyone. Last week's video on my Manchester road trip being pushy has caused a little bit of flack online for myself. Not that I'm bothered in the slightest. It was a particular clip where the lorry came right next to me and I accelerated a little bit to get out of its blind spot. Now, the comment section on my video was totally fine, but it caused a fair bit of problems. Well, problems, no. A fair bit of negativity when I posted it to TikTok. And when I did, Egghead Chris reposted it and caused a little bit of a pile-on. So today we're going to be looking at this in a fair bit more detail. Egghead Chris is a trucker and he posts quite a lot of his opinions on TikTok. Now, he reposted my clip first time round and I obviously got tagged in it, and he deleted it quite quickly, and his response was quite interesting because it didn't kick off the algorithm in the way that he wanted. So is he another person on TikTok that's just after the clicks and likes? In any case, that's quite irrelevant. He reposted it again, and before we have a look at that clip, I'd just like to remind you of the original clip, plus I've added a couple of titles just to give people an idea of what's what that I posted on my Manchester road trip. Let's roll with that first.
So what would I do now this lorry is positioned here? I would just go up to this position. And there's always little bits that you can do just to reduce that risk. That's impossible, don't forget, if I didn't have the space out in front of me. What would I do in that scenario? Well, I would drop back the other side of the lorry. I've also got to be careful with this red one. We are coming up in 2 miles to the junction that I'm taking. It's a big major junction to the M60, so it's just a balancing act. If you hold this sort of position with a red car though, this lorry driver has got to be really terrible and tailgate massively. He's coming up now as well for it to be an issue. And if he is going to do that, I've just about still got a pocket of space if one goes one way and one goes the other. But honestly, if he's going to tailgate, I'll just drop him behind the lorry. People say that there's not stuff that you can do to negate this situation. There is. There's always stuff that you can do to sort it out. Look at the lorry driver as well. What did I say about the exit? Was he really just trying to push past this one car just to get that little bit further ahead? Absolutely.
The comment section on my YouTube video said very little of this, but interestingly, on TikTok, it caused all kinds of animosity towards me and bits and bobs. However, I do think that's the differing audiences. It's the short attention span on TikTok which really divides for me. You make your own assessment of what I'm saying. In any case, we're now going to have a little look at what Chris had to say on his video.
So what would I do now this lorry is positioned here? I would just go up to this position.
Ashley Neal to driving tuition is what a trapdoor is to a submarine. So he sat there in lane 1 doing less than 56 miles an hour because that lorry's catching him up, waits for the lorry to get alongside him and then accelerates. Labels himself as a driving instructor but doesn't understand some basic principles of the highway code. Highway Code Rule 168, speeding up or driving unpredictably while someone is overtaking you is dangerous. Here's the thing, Ashley's in lane 1 because he's coming up to the exit he wants to take, but he says it himself in his video, he's still 2 miles away. So there are 2 better options than what Ashley did. One of them is drop back and let the lorry pass. The second option is go into lane 3, overtake the red car, overtake the Arctic in front of it, and then go into lane 1. Quite why the red car and the Arctic in front of it are dawdling in lane 2, I do not know, but that's another matter. If you're a learner driver, do not listen to a word this man says when it comes to driving around HGVs. Listen to lorry drivers. This guy puts himself intentionally in dangerous positions just to wind lorry drivers up. Probably a jealousy thing because he could never pass his Class 1 test.
As you can see, Chris took a shortened part of the clip, the part where I was just increasing my speed. He then took information from the other end of the clip where I realised that the lorry driver was probably doing what they did to try and push in, and then put it together to make it out as though I was in the wrong. When I did increase my speed, it was to get out of the worst possible place that you could be on a right-hand drive truck, just to the left-hand side of the cab, in front of the front bumper. So even with what I've shown, it sort of makes a little bit of a mockery of Chris's clip. However, we're going to look at the clip in some bigger detail now, and I'm going to show a little piece of information that wasn't shown in the original clip. Let's go. This is a number of minutes prior to where the clip I showed started. The congestion at that time on the M62 was busy as normal. It's always like this on this stretch. The first thing I'm going to point out, of many I will add, is this sign above the gantry. How does this affect the comments that were raised by Chris? Well, effectively, it blows them all out of the water. You should just be staying and following the vehicle in front at a safe distance, not looking to overtake and then cut back in. And this stays in force until the temporary reduced speed limit has finished. And throughout the whole clip, it doesn't. I will also be going through many points as if this sign wasn't here, and it was a normal free-flowing motorway, with people able to lane change and overtake. I am going to get rid of the inside view so we've got a wider view out of the back window. This is going to help us judge space when we do get back up to the lorry. I'd like you to constantly be watching the gantry signs for the speed limits, and also, while I speed the clip up, have a look to see where I position my vehicle wherever possible. Next to a space. This black BMW 1 Series speed was quite erratic though, and it was quite difficult. As we enter the 40 limit, we can now see the lorry up in lane 2. This is the one that I have problems with later on in the clip. In this next little section, nothing really happens apart from some weaving, pretty poor lane discipline. But I'd like you to look now at what I specifically try and do at all times. I won't sit next to a lorry unless I absolutely have to and I have no option, and that doesn't happen very often. Even ignoring the stay in lane signs that we saw before, I will not go and position myself next to a lorry, just in case they don't see me and move across. It's lethal to be sitting in a lorry's blind spot area, although there's not many blind spots nowadays. Usually when an incident happens, it's because a lorry driver hasn't looked properly. Just recently, National Highways ran a campaign just about this specific subject. They obviously know it's a big problem and needs addressing. This next sign's quite an important one as well. It says it's going to take 9 minutes to travel 6 miles. That's an average of only 40 miles an hour. The traffic's only going to get slower further up, and we can already see that with the brake lights that keep on coming on further up the road. And that's generally because people are travelling too close. Compare that with the spaces that I keep. Virtually no one is keeping a 2-second gap, and that includes this lorry driver. I even hold back until I'm certain I'm able to get past safely, and this is totally fine in these temporary reduced speed limit sections, but you've still got to be really careful. And the reason why I don't go past the red Focus and the lorry that's in front is because of the green lorry that I'm following. There's simply not enough room for me to fit in a decent pocket. And this is approximately where I started the other clip from. Don't forget this section at the moment is still 60 miles per hour. So the lorry behind in lane 2 is stuck at doing 56. But remember, with the keep in lane due to the congestion signs, they are stuck effectively following this red Ford until the signs finish. And pretty obviously, that's also the reason why I've stayed in lane 1 throughout the whole clip. It's this next section of footage where the lorry driver behind starts to close the space down. Let's imagine for a second as well that the keep in lane signs weren't there. If this lorry driver is catching the red Focus, they can just overtake and use lane 3. It's a 4-lane motorway section at the end of the day. Well, don't forget, this lorry in front should also be limited to 56. Occasionally there will be discrepancies between vehicles, and that's how you find these lorries getting into a snail's race. And this is exactly where many people in the comments were mistaken. When this happens, the driver in the left-hand lane should back off and let the other vehicle overtake. But this driver behind me has no room to overtake. There never was, and there never will be, yet they're closing the space right down. Let's measure just how far. The red car has just gone past this road marking, and it's quite distinguishable. By the time that the lorry gets up to that same marking, we've only had 22 frames. This is a 30 frame per second dashcam, so that lorry is only 2/3 of a second behind the red car. That's lethal from a 40-ton wagon. Let's pop me back in the frame, because I do something quite interesting here. I look up to see whether it's a left-hand drive lorry, and when it's not, I realise I'm in danger. Look at the inside view next to me. The front left-hand wheel of that truck is no further forward than my back seats. It was never, ever in a position it was going to overtake. The quickest and easiest way for me to get out of danger is to do exactly what I did, and I would advise everyone else to do the same in this exact same situation. You are not putting your foot down as another vehicle is trying to overtake. Remember, we should all be staying in our lanes, so this lorry driver behind is effectively just tailgating the red car, nothing else. And for all the people saying that my speed wasn't steady, it's exactly the opposite. I keep virtually the same distance to the red Ford, yet the lorry drops back, and then catches up again, and then decides to tailgate again, even closer than before. Let's go back to an old phrase of mine. Would this lorry driver have been driving in this manner if I were a police car? And the answer's no.
Really terrible, and tailgate massively. He's coming up now as well for it to be an issue. And if he is going to do that, I've just about still got a pocket of space if one goes one way and one goes the other. But honestly, if he's going to tailgate, I'll just drop him behind the lorry.
Without question, this lorry driver knew exactly where they were going. They've probably seen the lower speed limit a little bit further up, and hopefully they've seen all the queuing cars that are starting to brake even further. But being so close, maybe not.
To sort it out. Look at the lorry driver as well. What did I say about the exit? Was he really just trying to push past this one car just to get that little bit further ahead?
And has there ever been a space between myself and the red Focus that's big enough to complete that overtake? The answer's no.
Manage him now as well, because he's a pusher. I'm assuming that it's a he. So yeah, manage them. Slow them down. Keep away from the one in front. Don't be too eager to accelerate as well. Grow this gap in front and keep yourself options. Always this side if possible as well.
Since Chris's video went live, it's been shared multiple times on multiple platforms. And what I've found from this is there's one group of road users that's much more easily triggerable than cyclists, and it's HGV drivers. This has led to many negative reviews and comments on my driving school, which I think is really unfair. The instructors who work under my banner have nothing to do with what I do on YouTube. And even without that, I've proved that Chris's statement was incorrect. And this could be classed as slander. Now, I don't want to go down that legal route. I'm more interested in the educational side of it. So, if Chris holds his hands up and tells everyone that he was wrong, and maybe gives a little donation to my Just Giving page, to the charity that I'm running the London Marathon for, we'll leave the matter there. Like I've already said, there were hundreds of comments, and I'll leave a few of these comments just while I speak at this particular moment. But if you were one of those people who incorrectly made assessments and judgments on that short part of the video without actually seeing a whole picture, perhaps you would also hold your hand up. Say that you've been educated, say that you understand, and also maybe give a little donation to the page as well. To finish, I'd like to address Chris's final point that I couldn't pass Class 1. That's not the case. I've never even attempted it, and I don't plan to at this point in time. When I passed my Class 2, it was simply to get an idea of the perspective of a lorry driver from the lorry driver's seat, and it was really important. It taught me loads, but it also taught me the standards of lorry drivers are really, really low. Would I ever use it going forward? I don't think so. I couldn't put up with the paying conditions. Quite simply, why would I work twice the hours for less pay? It doesn't make any sense. And just to also finally draw a line under this, I teach people to teach people to get a particular level of license or category of license. And as far as I understand, Chris, you've only got that license, so the levels are quite different. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.